Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for supporting your Heritage Pines Drama Club. We want to thank all the many people that helped make tonight's performance possible. At this time, kindly silence all devices. For the first time ever in the history of our drama club, we present tonight's performance as Theater in the Round. And now, please sit back and enjoy your friends and neighbors in 12 Angry Jurors.
Murder in the first degree, premeditated homicide, is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You have heard a long and complex case, and it is now your duty to sit down to try and separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead. The life of another is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You are faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you.
The jury will retire.
This kid just does not stand a chance.
The jury will retire.
No, thank you.
Chewing gum? Gum? Thank you, but no. You know something? I know lots of things. I'm in advertising. You know it's hot. See, I never would have known that if she hadn't said something, would you?
No, I wouldn't. I kind of forgot.
Well, all I've done all day is sweat.
I bet you're not sweating like that kid that was tried.
Geez, you think the least they could do is air condition this place? I nearly keeled over in court.
Well, my taxes are high enough.
Well, this part of that trial's gonna go fast.
Yes, it's hot.
All right, jurors. Everybody's in. I'm going to be right outside the door. If anybody needs anything, just knock. And I'll be right in.
Did she just lock that door?
Yes, she did.
What do they think we are, crooks?
Look, they just lock us up for a little while.
And then they lock that kid up forever, and that's okay by me.
I never knew they did that.
Sure, they locked the door. What did you think?
Well, I just didn't know. It just never occurred to me.
Shall we all admit right now it's hot and humid and our tempers are a little short?
It's been a pretty hard week.
I feel just fine.
Well, I wonder what's been going on down at the office. You know how it is in advertising. In 6 days, my job could be gone. And the whole company, too. Oh, they're not going to like this.
Well, figure it's our duty.
Well, I didn't object to doing my duty. I just mentioned that I might not have a job by the time I get back.
Ask him to hire you. He's rich. Look at that suit.
Is that custom tailored?
Yes, it is.
I have an uncle who's a tailor.
Really, how does he do?
Not too well. In fact, a friend of his, a friend of my uncle, that is, he wanted to take my place on this jury.
Why didn't you let him? I'd have done anything to get out of this.
You know what the consequences and the fines would be for something like that? Well, anyway, this uncle of mine and his friend on the jury, it was a very, very similar to this one.
So what happened?
Let him off.
Really?
Reasonable doubt. And can you imagine, 8 years later, they found out that he'd actually committed the crime? Can you imagine that? A murderer, let out on the streets.
Did they get him?
They couldn't.
Why not?
A man can't be held at double jeopardy. Unless it's a hung jury, you can't try a man twice for the same crime.
That is not gonna happen here.
6 days. We should have finished in 2. Talk, talk, talk. Did you ever hear so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
Everybody gets a fair trial. That's the system. Well, I suppose we can't say anything against it.
Hey, but what'd y'all think about the business with the knife? Did you ever hear a phonier story?
Well, you know, you gotta expect that. You know what you're dealing with here.
He bought a knife that night.
Then he lost it.
Yeah, right. A hole in his pocket.
A hole in his father.
Oh, what an awful way to kill your father. Oh, a knife in the chest. Oh,
You know what you're dealing with, the kind of people you're dealing with. You know that.
Geez, you've been sniffling all day. You got a cold or something?
Lulu, you know, these summer colds, why, they can kill you.
Yeah, I know. I had one last year. Oh, while I was on vacation, too.
All right, shall we take our seats?
This better go fast.
The lady at the window.
I got tickets to Phantom of the Opera tonight. I am probably the only one in the world who has not seen it yet. So this better go fast. Your Honor, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah.
The lady at the window.
oh,
Would you please take your
sorry.
seat? Thank you.
You know, it's tough to figure. Kid kills his father. Bing, just like that. Well, you know, it's the element. They let them kids run wild. You gotta expect that. Maybe they got what they deserve. They deserve that, you know.
You know, there are much better proofs than some emotion you may have. Perhaps a dislike of a particular group.
Well, we all agreed it was hot.
And that our tempers will get short.
But that's if we disagree. This is open and shut. Let's just get it done.
All right, now you jurors can handle this any way you want. We can talk about it and then vote on it, or we can vote on it right now and see where we stand.
Let's vote on it now. Maybe we can all go home.
Now, see who's where, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's vote now.
Yes,
All right.
I agree. Let's vote.
Does anybody not want to vote?
All
Okay.
right, that was easy.
Okay, it's agreed. All those voting guilty, would you please raise your hand? 3, 6. That's 11 guilty. Those voting not guilty?
Hey, you're out in left field.
Okay, it's 11 to 1 guilty. Now we know where we are, where we stand.
Do you really believe he's not guilty?
I don't know.
Oh, geez, after a 6-day trial, she doesn't know.
Yeah, in 6 days, I could learn calculus. This is A, B, C. I don't believe it's as simple as A, B, C.
I never saw a guiltier man in my life.
What does a guilty man look like? He's not guilty until we say he's guilty. Are we to vote on his face?
You sat in court and heard the same things I did. The man's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
Where do you look to see if a man's a killer?
Forget about
No,
it.
I want to know. What are the facial characteristics of a killer? Maybe you know something I don't know.
Look, what is it about the case that makes you think the boy is innocent?
He's only 19 years old.
That's old enough. He knifed his own father 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old kid.
Look, I agree with you, the kid's guilty, but I think we should avoid emotional arguments here.
Well, they proved it a dozen different ways. Do you want me to list them?
No.
Well, do you believe that stupid story that he told?
Now.
Come on, do you believe the kid's story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So why'd you vote not guilty?
There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a kid off to die without at least talking about it first.
Well, who said it was easy for me?
Or me.
No one.
It's just as guilty whether it's a hard vote or an easy vote.
Is there something wrong because I voted quickly?
Not necessarily.
I think the kid's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talk about it for 100 years.
I don't want to change your mind.
Just what are you thinking of?
I just want to talk for a while. Look, this kid's been kicked around all his life. You know, living in a slum, his mother dead since he was 9 years old. He's a tough, angry kid. Do you know why slum kids get that way? Because we knock them over the head once a day, every day. I just think we owe him a few words. That's all.
All right. It's hard. Sure. It was hard for me. I fought for everything I got. I worked my way through college. That was a long time ago. You know, perhaps you do forget. I got into lots of fights. But I never killed anybody.
I know what it's like. I never killed nobody.
Yeah, I've been kicked around too. Wait till you work for an ad agency and the big boy who buys the advertising walks in. We all know.
Well, in my country, in Europe, kicking was a science. So let's try to find something better than that.
Listen, I don't mind telling you this, lady. We do not owe that kid a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? Do you have any idea what that trial cost? He's lucky he got it. All right, listen, we're all adults in here. How can you possibly tell me that you believe him knowing what he says? You know, I've lived among them all my life. There's not a word you can believe from them, and you know it. You know it.
I don't know it. What a horrible thing for a man to believe. Since when is dishonesty a group characteristic? You have no monopoly on the truth.
All right, it's not Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
What this man says is very dangerous.
I don't see any need for arguing like this. We should all be able to behave like civilized adults in here.
Right.
Well, okay, if you insist.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, if we're going to discuss this case, let's discuss the facts.
All right. Now, I think that's a good point. We've got a job to do, and let's do it.
Well, First of all, if you don't mind, I want to close that window.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
It was blowing on my neck.
Maybe we could turn on the heat, too.
He's not joking. Close the window. I'd like to have the window opened if you don't mind.
It was blowing on me.
It's summer. It's hot. Don't you want a little air?
It made me very uncomfortable.
Oh, there are 12 of us in this room and
Welcome to the
one
club.
window.
Well, you know, I have some rights, too.
And so do the other 11 of us.
All right, I will open the window.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Okay, shall we get back to the case?
Yeah, let's.
Gar.
You know, I might have an idea here. I'm just thinking out loud now. But it seems to me that it's up to us to convince this woman that we're right and she's wrong.
All right.
So maybe if we talk for a minute or two, you know, just try it on for size.
That sounds fair enough to me.
Very fair.
Okay. Supposing we go once around the table, discussion.
Let's start it off.
You got it. Let's start with you.
Oh, well, well, I think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious.
In what way was it obvious?
Well, I mean, nobody proved otherwise.
Nobody has to prove otherwise. Innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof rests on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution. The Fifth Amendment, you've heard of it?
Everyone has.
Of course I've heard of it. It's just that well, anyway, I just think he's guilty.
No reasons. Just guilty. There's a life at stake here.
Okay, let's get to the facts. Number one, let's take the old man who lived on the second floor in the apartment right under the room where the murder took place. At just about 10 minutes after 12 on the night of the killing, he said he heard a lot of loud noise coming from that upstairs apartment. He said it sounded like a fight. Then he heard the kid say to his father, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard a body falling. That's when he ran to the front door of his apartment. He looked out, and he saw the kid running down the stairs and out of the house. Then he called the police. They found the father with a knife in his chest.
You're right. And I believe the coroner found the time of death to be just about midnight.
Right. Now, what else do you want?
Something doesn't fit.
What doesn't fit? The boy's entire story is flimsy. He says he was at the movies. Isn't that a little ridiculous? He couldn't even remember what picture he saw.
You're right. Did you hear that? You're absolutely right.
He didn't have a ticket stub.
Who keeps a ticket stub at the movies?
That's true enough.
Well, I suppose, but the cashier didn't remember him.
And the ticket taker didn't either.
Listen, lady, what about the woman across the way, across the street? If her testimony don't prove it, nothing does.
That's right. She saw the killing, didn't she?
All right.
Right.
Let's go in order
No,
here,
wait,
okay?
wait. No, here's a woman. She's lying in bed. She can't sleep. It's hot, you know. Well, anyway, she just happens to get up to look out the window. Look out the window. She happens to see the kid slamming a knife into his father.
How can she be sure it was the kid she saw through the windows of a passing elevated train?
She's known the kid all his life. And her window is right across from his, just across from the L tracks. And she swore it. She swore it.
I heard her swear to it.
All right, and they proved in court that you can look through the windows of a passing L train and see what's going on the other side. They proved it.
Weren't you telling us a few minutes ago that you can't trust them? That you can't believe them?
So?
So let me ask you something. How come you believe this woman? She's one of them, isn't she?
You're a pretty smart dame, aren't you?
Take it easy.
Come on now.
Take it easy.
Sit down. What are you letting it get you all upset for? Sit down. Relax.
Look, they did take us down to the woman's room, and we looked through the windows of a passing elevated train, did we?
Yes, we did.
And weren't you able to see what happened on the other side?
I didn't see as clearly as they told me I would see, but I did see what happened on the other side.
All right. You see? Do you see?
All right, let's calm down. I believe it's your turn.
I'll pass it.
That's your privilege. How about you?
I don't know. I started to be convinced, with the testimony from the couple across the hall. Didn't they say something about hearing an argument between the father and the boy around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I could be wrong.
I think it was 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right, 8 o'clock.
And they heard the father hit the boy twice, and they saw the boy walk angrily out of the house.
Right. What does that prove?
Well, it doesn't exactly prove anything. It's just part of the picture. I didn't say it proved anything.
All right, is there anything else?
No. I don't know. I think everything's been said before. I mean, this is ridiculous. We could talk about this all day long, but we're just wasting our time.
I don't think we're wasting our time.
Neither do I. Go on.
All right. Well, let's look at the kid's record. He stole a car. He's arrested for mugging, and he even stabbed somebody in the shoulder.
That's right. That's what they said.
Later, he's picked up again for knife fighting. And at 15, he's in reform school.
And they sent him to reform school for stabbing somebody.
Exactly. This is a very fine boy.
Ever since the kid was 5 years old, his father beat him up regularly. He used his fists.
So would I with a kid like that.
You're right. It's the kids the way they are. They don't listen. I got a kid. When he was 8 years old, he ran away from a fight. I saw him. I was so ashamed. I told him straight out, I'm going to make a man out of you, or I'm going to bust you into little pieces trying. When he was 15, he hit me in the face. He's big, Geez, I haven't seen him in 3 years. Rotten kid. I hate tough kids. You work your heart out. All right. Let's get on with it.
Look, I think we're missing the point here. This boy, all right, let's say he's the product of a filthy neighborhood and a broken family. There's nothing we can do about that. We're not here to discuss why slums are breeding ground for criminals. They just are. I know it and you know it. And the children who come from slum backgrounds are potential menaces to society.
You said it there. I don't want no part of them. Believe me.
I've lived in a slum all my life.
Oh, wait a second.
Well,
I used to play in the backyard that was filled with garbage. Maybe it still smells on me.
All right, let's be reasonable. There's nothing personal here.
There is something personal.
Come on, miss. He doesn't mean you. Let's not be so sensitive.
Who did he mean?
I can understand this sensitivity.
All right, let's stop the bickering.
Yeah, we're wasting time.
I believe it's your turn.
All right. I've had a peculiar feeling about this trial. Somehow, I didn't feel the defense counsel put on a thorough cross-examination. There were too many questions left unasked.
it doesn't change my feelings about the guilt of the kid, but I have to agree with you. That defense counsel was bad.
So?
This is a point.
But what about facts?
There were too many questions never answered.
What about the questions that were answered, like the one about that cute little switchblade? That this fine, upright kid admitted buying?
All right. Let's get it in here and take a look at it. I'd like to see it again. Mr. Foreman?
We all know what this knife looks like. We don't have to see it again. What do you think?
I think the lady has a right to see exhibits and evidence.
It's okay with me.
The knife is a pretty strong piece of evidence. Wouldn't you agree?
I do.
All right, let's get the sequence of events right in regard to the switchblade.
Right, well, the boy admits to going out of his house at 8 o'clock after being slapped by his father.
Or punched.
Or punched. He went to a neighborhood store where he bought the switchblade knife. The store owner was arrested the next day for selling it to him.
I think we can all agree that it was an unusual knife. Kind of hard to forget something like that.
And the storekeeper identified the knife and said it was the only one of its kind that he had in stock. Now, why did the boy buy it?
I think he said it was a present, didn't he? Yeah, a present for a friend.
Am I right so far?
Right.
You bet he's right. Now listen to this man. He knows what he's talking about.
Okay, next. The boy says that while walking home, the knife must have slipped through a hole in his pocket, and he never saw it again. Now, there's a story. We all know what happened. He took the knife home. A few hours later, he stabbed his father with it, and he even remembered to wipe away the fingerprints. Thank you. Now, everyone associated with the case identified this knife. You expect us to believe that someone picked it up off the street, walked up to the kid's house, and stabbed his father with it to be amusing?
No. I'm saying it's possible that the kid did lose the knife. And it's possible that someone else stabbed his father with a similar knife. It's possible.
Take a look at this knife. A very strange knife. I've never seen one like it before in my life, and neither had the shopkeeper who sold it to him. Aren't you trying to make us believe a really incredible coincidence?
I'm not trying to make you accept anything. I'm just saying it's possible.
And I'm saying it's not possible.
Oh, my God! It's the same knife!
All right, quiet. Let's be quiet.
Now listen to me.
I'm listening.
Where'd you get it?
I bought it in a little junk store around the corner from the kid's house. It cost me $20.
You pulled a real cute trick here, but you proved absolutely zero. Maybe there's 10 knives that look like that. So what?
Maybe there are.
The boy lied and you know it.
And maybe he didn't lie. And maybe he went to the movies. And just maybe the reason the cashier didn't see him was that he sneaked into the movies. And maybe he was too ashamed to say so. How many of you here have never sneaked into the movies once or twice when you were young?
I don't know. I didn't.
Really? Not even once?
We didn't have movies.
Okay.
Oh, well, maybe the kid went to the movies. Maybe he didn't go to the movies. Maybe he lied. Maybe he didn't lie. Do you think he lied?
Well, that's a stupid question. Of course he lied.
Do you?
You don't have to ask me. You know my answer. He lied.
Do you think he lied?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, wait a second. What are you, the kid's lawyer? Listen, there are 11 of us that say he's guilty. You're alone. Your stubbornness can hang this jury. He's just going to be tried all over again and found guilty, just as sure as the day he was born.
You're probably right.
So what are you going to do about it? At this rate, we could be here all night.
It's only one night. A man may die.
Oh,
Well,
come
yes, that's
on.
true.
All right. I think we ought to get on with it now.
All right, obviously, you don't think he's guilty.
I have a doubt in my mind.
But you haven't presented anything to us to help us understand that doubt. Take the old man downstairs. He heard it. He heard the kid shriek it out.
And the woman across the L tracks. She saw it.
Yeah, and we know he bought a switchblade that night. We don't know where he really was. At the movies?
And earlier that night, I believe that the kid and his father had a fight.
He's been a violent kid all the way. All right, though that in itself doesn't prove anything.
Still, you know what I think?
I've got a proposition to make. I'd like to call a vote. I want you 11 to vote by secret ballot. If there are 11 votes for guilty, I won't stand alone. We'll take in a guilty verdict right now.
Yeah, very fair.
Let's do it.
Let's roll it.
Okay.
Perhaps this is best.
Yeah.
Sounds fair to me also. Is everybody agreed?
Yeah.
I
All right,
certainly
we're
am.
ready to go.
You all have your ballots in front of you. I want you to mark them either guilty or not
There's
guilty.
just 11 of us. She's not voting.
Okay.
There we go.
Pass them up.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, I'll read them off. Guilty. 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 Guilty.
That's 6.
All right. Guilty. 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 Not guilty. What? Guilty.
Oh, what the hell? Who
Who
did
was
it? What's
it?
going
Who
on
was
around
it?
here?
I think we have a right to know.
All right, who did it? What idiot changed their vote?
Is that any way to talk about a man's life?
Whose life are you talking about? The life of a dead man or the life of a murderer?
I want to know who.
So do I.
Excuse me. This was a secret ballot.
Nobody looked when we did it, but now I want to know.
A secret ballot. We agreed on this point, no? If the person wants it to remain a secret...
What do you
then
mean? There's no secrets in here. I know who it was. What's the matter with you? You come in here and you vote guilty, and then this slick preacher tears your heart out about some poor kid who couldn't help becoming a murderer, so you change your vote? If that isn't the most
Now,
sickening...
hold it.
Look, I agree the kid's guilty, but come on, let's be fair.
Hold it. Be fair. That's just what I'm saying. We're trying to put a guilty man in a chair where he belongs, and now we're paying attention to fairy tales.
Now, just a minute.
Now you listen to me.
All right.
Let's try to please keep this organized.
Not organized, but at least try and keep it civilized.
Please. I would like to say something here. I have always thought that a man was entitled to have unpopular opinions in this country. This is one of the reasons that I came here. I wanted to have the right to disagree.
Do you disagree with us?
Usually I would. But in this case, I agree with you. But the point that I want to make here is that in my own country, I am ashamed to say
Oh,
that
now, come on. What do we have to do? Listen to the whole history of your country?
It's always wise to consider what's happened in other countries when people aren't allowed to disagree, but we are allowed to disagree. So let's just stick to the subject.
Yes, let's stick to the subject. I'd like to know, why did you change your vote?
I want to know, too. You haven't told us yet.
Why do you think I did change my vote?
Well, because I do. Now get on with it.
She didn't change her vote. I did.
What?
Oh.
I was going to tell you, but you were just so sure of yourself.
Sorry. Okay, now.
Maybe you'd like to know why.
Let me tell you why that kid's a...
The lady would like to talk.
Thank you. This woman chose not to stand alone against us. That's her right. It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone, even if you believe in something very strongly. She left the verdict up to us. She gambled for support, and I gave it to her. I want to hear more. The vote is 10-2.
All right, if the speech is over, let's just go on, huh?
Oh, you want some water?
Yes, thank you.
You know, if there was anything at all in the kid's favor, I'd vote not guilty.
Well, I don't see what it is.
Neither do I. They're just clutching at straws.
As guilty as he gets, that kid.
It's this
I
one
suppose.
juror that's holding everything up. She'll come around. She's got to. I mean, fundamentally, she seems to be a very reasonable person.
Well, I guess so.
And they haven't come up with one real fact yet to back up a not guilty verdict. Hard, isn't it?
Oh, man.
You know what I wonder? Just what does guilty beyond a reasonable doubt even mean?
What is a reasonable doubt?
Exactly. When a life is at stake, what is a reasonable doubt? I mean, you've got to draw the line somewhere. You have to have law and order, otherwise everyone would be going around knifing people.
No doubt here.
No doubt at all. But apparently 2 of us think so. And I wonder why. I just wonder why.
Well, you do hear of innocent men going to jail, and even sometimes to being put to death. And then years later, something turns up.
Yeah, but on the other hand, some killers get released and do it again. They squeeze out on some technicality and they kill again.
Look, miss, now that we kind of cooled off, I was a little excited a minute ago. You know what I mean? I didn't mean to get nasty. It's nothing personal.
Okay.
Look, suppose you answer me this. If the kid didn't kill him, then who did?
As far as I know, we're to decide whether the boy on trial is guilty. We're not concerned with anybody else's motives.
Well, I suppose, but who else even had a motive?
Well, the kid's father was along in years, maybe an old grudge.
Remember, it is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is important to remember.
Everyone's a lawyer. Supposing you tell us what your reasonable doubts are.
This isn't easy. So far, it's only a feeling I have. A feeling. Perhaps you don't understand.
No, I don't.
Feelings? What are we going to do? Spend the whole night here talking about your feelings? What about the facts?
You said a mouthful. Look, the old man heard the kid yell out, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard the father's body falling, and then he saw the kid running out of the house 15 seconds after that.
Exactly. Now, where is the reasonable doubt in that?
Yes, and let's not forget that the woman across the street, she looked into the open window and she saw the boy stab his father. She saw it.
Now, if that's not enough for you...
It's not enough for me.
Well, what is enough for you, I'd like to know?
Oh, geez, listen to this one. It's like talking into a dead phone.
Look, the boy, everyone knows he did it. The woman saw the killing. She saw it through the windows of a moving elevated train. The train had 5 cars. She saw it through the windows of the last 2 cars. She remembers the most insignificant details.
Now, what do you got to say about that?
I don't know. It just doesn't sound right to me.
Well, you know, supposing you think about it, let me just pencil here. Rick, let's play some tic-tac-toe.
Oh.
And we'll pass the time doing something. I'll put an X here.
This isn't a game.
Hey, now wait a minute.
This is a man's life.
Who do you think you are?
All right, calm down.
I
Take
got
it
a
easy,
good mind
take
to
it
come around
easy.
this table and belt the one.
Take it easy. I don't want any
Will
fighting
you
in here.
sit down?
Oh, don't
Did you
mean
see
nothing.
her? The nerve, the absolute nerve.
It just don't mean nothing. All right, we'll
This
sit down.
isn't a game. Who do you think you are?
Were we talking about elevated trains?
Yes, we were.
So,
All right. I'd like to know, how long does it take an elevated train going at full speed to pass a given point?
what has that got to do with anything?
How long does it take? Guess.
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Neither would I.
I don't think they mentioned it.
What do you think?
About 10 or 12 seconds, maybe?
That sounds like a fair guess. Anyone else?
I would think about 10 seconds, perhaps.
Yeah, 10 seconds.
All right, we're agreed. 10 seconds. What are you getting at?
This. It takes an elevated train 10 seconds to pass a given point. That given point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. You can almost reach out the window and touch the L. Am I right?
That's right. I actually tried it.
So,
All right, let me ask you, how many of you here have ever lived next to the L tracks?
I've lived close to them.
They make a lot of noise, don't they? I live right by the L, and when the window is open and a train is going by, the noise is unbearable. You can hardly hear yourself think.
So you can hardly hear yourself think. Get to the point.
All right, the old man downstairs says he heard the boy say...
He didn't say it. He screamed it.
The old man downstairs heard the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." And 1 second later, the body fell. 1 second. That's his testimony, right?
Right.
Right.
And the woman across the street looked through the windows of the last 2 cars of the L and saw the body fall, right?
Right?
So?
The last 2 cars. Last 2.
What are you giving us here?
It takes an L 10 seconds to pass a given point, or about 2 seconds per car. That means the train would have been going past the old man's window for about 6 seconds or more before the body fell, according to the woman. The old man would have had to hear the boys scream, "I'm going to kill you," while the front of the L was roaring past his nose. I don't think it's possible he heard him.
What do you mean? Sure he could have heard it.
With an L train going by?
He said the kid yelled it out.
An L makes a lot of noise.
That's enough for me.
It's enough for me, too.
I don't think he could have heard it.
Perhaps the old man didn't hear it. I mean, with the L noise.
What are you people trying to say? Are you calling the old man a liar?
Something doesn't fit.
Why would he lie? He's got nothing to gain. What has he got to gain?
Attention.
You know, you
Maybe.
keep coming up with these bright sayings. Why don't you send one to the newspaper? They pay $2.
Is that any way to talk about a man's life? Why might the old man have lied? You have a right to be heard.
It's just that I looked at this old man for a long time. The seam of his jacket was split under his arm. Did you notice that?
No.
Here is an old man with a torn jacket, and he carried 2 canes. I think I know him better than anybody here. This is a quiet, frightened, insignificant man who has been nothing all his life. He has had no recognition, his name in the newspapers. Nobody knows him after 75 years. This is a sad thing. A man like this needs to be recognized, to be questioned, to be listened to be quoted even just once. This is very important.
You know, and you're trying to tell us that he lied just so he could be important?
No, he wouldn't really lie, but perhaps he would make himself believe that he heard those words and that he recognized the boy's face.
Well, if that isn't the most fantastic story I've ever heard, how could you make up something like that?
I'm not making it up.
You must be making it up. People don't lie about things like this.
He made himself believe he told the truth.
Well, what would you know about it?
I speak from experience.
What?
What?
I'm the same way.
Okay, I think we all understand now. Thank you.
You know, if you want to admit to us that you're a liar, it's okay with me.
Now that is too much.
She's a liar. She just told us so.
She was not. She was explaining.
Didn't you just admit to us that you're a liar?
Please. She was explaining the circumstances of why the old man might have lied. There is a difference.
A liar is a liar. That's all there is to it.
Please, have some compassion.
Look, jurors, we have a job to do here, and it is our duty to do it. Let's go on with it.
I think they've covered that part.
I hope we have.
A cough drop? Would you like a cough drop?
No, thank you.
Anyone like a cough drop?
No.
Yes, I'd like one, please. I
All right.
really need it.
Is there anything else?
All right. There's one more thing I'd like to point out about the old man downstairs.